Hi everyone, thank you. So, why am I here? I think what I can do is give you not the last word in creative technology and the final word never where it's going, but I can talk to you about how we, as the lead body for film, TV, video games and immersive in the UK, see it from our viewpoint, and hopefully that will give a bit of an interesting and a unique perspective on the structure of the sector, what it is. Where's the technology taking us next? And the next bit is, of course, where you can make a fool out of yourself when people look back at this in a year's time, but how we think we can support positive impacts. The key point, the first point to make is that creative technology in the screen sector has been around for a very long time, and whether it was scenic artists combining with camera crews and directors in really interesting ways to fool the viewer and bring them into the universe, or whether it's the same thing really, but just updated just a little bit for the modern world. The UK is rife and rampant with brilliant creative technology that brings stories to life. And it's continually kind of regenerating. This shot is from the highly impressive virtual production volume in Studio Ulster, which is still pretty new actually. What you can't see from this, or looks very impressive, is all those LED screens at the back are mobile and can be driven by joystick and can be detached from each other and driven into new configurations. And some of those configurations, as much as Studio Ulster is home to a very large number of Hollywood sized productions, they can also be reconfigured very quickly into a configuration that's usable for independent film as well. Speaking of independent film, the promise of creative technology in the screen sector has always been that it can permeate down, and we've seen some great examples of kind of human-sized creative technology from the people who've been speaking before me. But of course, we can look at the example of Monsters from probably about 15 years ago now, which brought to life a story that nobody thought just a very low-budget filmmaker would be able to do. And it's a continuing story as well. This is a piece of storytelling. That's probably the best way to describe it, by Karen Palmer, that the BFI funded recently, Consensus Gentium, and you can download the app on iPad and iPhone, and it's a story that brings together human fears about technology, but delivers them through a technology interface, and as it says, a series of emotionally responsive films that watch you back. So the first question I said is what, and what, as you guessed from our name, British Film Institute, we're very interested in film and TV, and creative technology is everywhere in film and TV, and has been for many years, many decades. But of course, the other question of what is going beyond the conventions of film and TV, and here, of course, you have Aber Voyage, which I'm sure many of you have known and visited, and again, making that true to life, true to the our independent spirit and our support for independent creators. The BFI funds both the production of and increasing the distribution of immersive content. In Pursuit of Repetitive Beats has a very human story grown out of the kind of vision of Darren Emerson, and from that singular vision, delivered into a whole series of venues in a way that allows people to be within a VR experience, but also sharing a space with one another, and delivered at a scale that makes economic sense as well. So it was developed to be a tour that would be more financially sustainable. So TV, video games, TV, film, and immersive covered, and of course, video games, which is creative technology. Does anyone know what this is a sketch of? See if there's any video games. No, no one. All right, there's someone. What do you think it is?
It's a sketch of the whole map.
Of?
A map.
Yeah, it's a map. Yeah, it's GTA 3, Grand Theft Auto 3. So I'm trying to keep. There's a very strong UK. I started with a picture of Modern Times, of course, which is not British, but everything else has been British. So there's a very UK story, and a fascinating story that I encourage anyone to look up who's interested in creative technology. But Grand Theft Auto 3 had to break many kind of creative technology barriers when it was envisaged and then delivered in in the 90s. And of course, the UK remains a hotbed for innovation in video games as well. This is 1001 Nights, an AI-powered, enabled, integrated video game that allows the user to play the part of Scheherazade and tell stories with the help of AI to keep themselves alive in the game and win the game. And then crossing boundaries, again, is something that we see as a unique strength of the UK. And Humane Studios based in Northern Ireland are a great example of that. They do work across film, TV, video games, and immersive. And you may not know of them directly, but you certainly will have encountered their work because they power many of the NPCs, the computer characters in video games and also in music videos and the like. And they do that with really innovative uses of AI. And one of the things that's their unique selling points is they create their own character meshes. And because they create their own character meshes, they're able to deliver much more diverse characters. For example, this character here is diverse by being from the netherworld, but they also do humans who are very diverse. I think they're a really unique British success story that we should be celebrating. And the what is it? Well, and this time last year, DCMS published the Coronation Challenge report into CreaTech, and that actually started to give a sense of the scale that the CreaTech companies might be a relatively small in number slice of the pie of the whole creative industries, but they're a vital slice of the pie, and that even taking them as not being smaller than the creative industries as a whole, you're still talking about 14,000 CreaTech companies, including software, and 2,000 really vital CreaTech innovator firms as well. So that's the what. That's everything we're trying to deal with at the BFI, everything we're trying to encompass in our vision. And that vision comes close to home as well with our own BFI archive. We're the home of the nation's film and TV archive, and as well as painstaking manual restoration work that you can see here. Machine learning is a really big part of what that team does. They have a GPU, their own GPU cluster, and they use machine learning and AI on open source models to both meta-tag parts of the archive that would not be able to do by humans, and also to subtitle a piece of television, for example, that have never had subtitling before. So there we go. That's everything we try and take into our scope. What are the when we look at potential futures, what do we see? Well, we kind of try and take several views of potential futures. And a lot of this we've been assisted by the fact that we're a partner in the CoStar Foresight Lab, who you should probably bump into. There's several of us here, so if you bump into any of us, then do say hello and find out how we can work with you. So first of all, is the future one where I talked about film, TV, video games, immersive quite separately in the presentation to date? I brought it a little bit together when I talked about Humane, but is the future one in which actually there's a much more merged experience economy, and we do that kind of mapping? Oh, am I out of time? And so we have to kind of map a future where actually there's far fewer silos between what we call art forms. And we worked with Neutral Human as part of the Foresight Lab to kind of do some of that mapping out and try and think about what that might mean for everybody in the sector. What does it mean for jobs? What does it mean for skills, investment, etc.? Is another view of the future one where actually AI and machine learning tools come to become far more dominant, and we look at that, for example, here in this slide in 3 strands: generative AI, machine learning, and process AI. And that's something that we track as well. And one can instantly see lots of positive applications of AI. But is this another view of the future, actually? Is this our future? We work in a creative sector, but is all our creativity going to be somehow bundled up in this kind of data center type structure? And when I just pull down from our internal database the news about AI, some of it can be quite concerning. This is all news about AI in the last month. Maria Schrader, the director, puts it very well when she asks the question, is AI still the pen in our hand, or is AI the hand that guides the pen? And Maria is a very interesting thinker, actually, and a director who is prepared to embrace new technology but still has these questions. And so we have to have these questions as well. So the future could be many things. What are we doing about it? What does the BFI do in terms of support? Well, I mentioned the partnership with the Co-Star Foresight Lab and our part in it. We published back in May our report, AI in the Screen Sector Perspective and Path Forward, which we think is the most comprehensive, overarching report into AI in the screen sector. There's many, many other good reports into AI on particular topics, but ours was overarching. And in doing that report, we actually got, following that report rather, we did some work exploring with Martin Adams, who's a kind of AI literate entrepreneur. And one of the things we talked about in terms of what's the role of a lead body, what's the role of a government, what's the role in the sector in rather than being a passenger for AI, but being in the driving seat, or at least next to the driving seat. And Martin kind of kept this model, and he said that everything we produce it goes through production, goes through distribution, and then if it hits unmet needs, then it's successful, and that finances more production. Boom, 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 boom. Very, very simple. But as you replace every level of human input in that triangle, you end up with something quite strange, maybe dystopian, in that you can have distribution can be automated through the internet and delivered by algorithm. Unmet needs can be perceived by algorithm, and if you use TikTok or YouTube Shorts, that's what's happening. And now if we make production also influenced by algorithm, then you have a whole triangle where content can be created, distributed, optimized, created again, redistributed, optimized, and you don't actually have to have a single human being in that cycle at all. And it can be very, very successful. Is that the future we want? And then Martin, working with us, posited this kind of making it a square. What's missing from that? And he talked about storytelling as the part that's missing for that, the intrinsic human element that's missing from it, and that's where cultural leadership comes in. So cultural leadership is in bringing storytelling to the picture. What else is the BFI doing? We've this year funded Artificial Intelligence and Screen Archive, £200,000 investment with King's College London, which is pulling together a testbed and national cohort of archives to learn about AI and co-develop, which is really promising, super exciting. Equitable Futures for Screen Technology is a fund that we have developed and has had a lot of impact from the Co-Star Foresight Lab, and there'll be more on that in the future, but it does what it says on the tin, really. It's all about what is an equitable future and how do we actually use the power of research and the power of tools to kind of actually make that equitable future more likely to happen. And we have an upcoming call, I hope, fingers crossed, called In Our Hands, which will be a £400,000 call focused on removing barriers to technology for independent creators, and this can be supporting pilot schemes which put emerging technologies directly in the hands of creators. And then what's the next steps? Well, we have in our Co-Star Foresight Lab report, we outlined like the 9 steps we think are necessary towards positive vision of AI in the country. And then these are the things we're going to be following up on: copyright issues, continuing work on growth, new work on EDI and sustainability, and building relationships and partnerships. So that's me, really. That's just a glimpse into the world of the British Film Institute and how we're engaging with new technology. Thank you.